I'm going to show you how to check and inspect your engine oil on your car or truck. This process is very similar for many makes and models. I have a 2008 Mazda CX-5 that is about due for an oil change, and I thought I'd go over a few things. So you want to make sure the car is parked on a level surface both ways, left, right, and front and back. So if you need to, move to a flat surface and wait about 10 minutes if you just moved it quickly. If you were driving it for a long period of time, you would have to wait even longer. The best time to check the engine oil is before the engine has run. So if you can, make this possible. But it's more important that the vehicle is on a flat surface. That way you can wait. So be sure the vehicle is on a flat surface and that you haven't been driving it for an accurate reading. Pop the hood. And once we go to the front of the vehicle and the engine has been off for a while or not driven at all, we can then locate the dipstick and oil fill cap right here. On this vehicle, the cap is labeled with the correct oil. It'll also be in your owner's manual. So the first thing we do is pull out the dipstick and we'll get a reading. Since it's been sitting here for a while, it should be pretty accurate. We can see here it's in between those two lines. That's exactly where it needs to be. If it was below the bottom line, you would need to add a quart, and it should not be above the top hole. So there's two holes there. It represents a quart of oil. It needs not to be below the bottom. It needs to be above the bottom and below the top. It's pretty much perfect in the middle there. And you can see that the oil is kind of getting a little darker. It's not quite time to replace yet, but I would say it's that shade next to black on the right. It's almost time to replace. So if you didn't get an accurate reading, you would wipe the dipstick off completely and stick it back in, all the way in, until you hear that click where that O-ring, because you need to get an accurate reading. Then you pull it out, and now you can see a real accurate reading. You can see it's right there below the top line, in an acceptable condition, in an acceptable level, though it's probably about time to change in 500 or 1,000 miles just to keep this vehicle running great. If you were to pull the dipstick out and you didn't get an oil reading, you would add oil, the correct oil in your owner's manual, to get that dipstick in the correct level. You would add a quarter of a quart at a time until you would get a reading on the dipstick. If it were really low, that is a very bad sign for your engine. You would want to go get an oil change immediately. Always make sure you have enough oil in your system. I'll bring that chart up again. Having oil is far better than not having oil, even if it is in that darker range. It can still work. It's just a representation that it's time to change. So most of the time when you have to change your oil, you have to reset the oil change light. Most people think this is an indication that you have to change your oil. It's simply a timer. You can do this in this vehicle by simply going into your applications, into maintenance, and you can set certain reminders to pop up. This system does not indicate it's time to change your oil. It's simply a reminder that you've driven so many miles since your last oil change, if that makes sense. So if you found this content helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions at all, please leave a comment.